Good morning, my magnificent ones. Welcome to Tea with Sue. I'm Sue, your magnificence mentor, and it's such a delight to be back. I was especially live because I recorded the last two sessions because I was on a holiday. I went to Mazatlan in Mexico. And oh, how glorious to be in the sun, the surf. I was staying with friends who have just relocated there from Ontario, Canada. And it was fascinating to watch how they're reshaping their lives in this new environment, in a foreign country, with a language that they don't speak that well, with different currency, all of the things that go along with, well, what's life like here? So today I thought I would talk about styling your life. We all have a sense of what kind of lifestyle we want to live. And lifestyle is simply defined as your way in which you live, or the way in which a group lives. That's all it is. But of course, we have a particular perspective on how we would like that to look and how we would like to be in that kind of environment. Do you remember there was a television program a long time ago called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous? And every week they would take viewers on a journey of what it was like to have this incredible wealth and how people spent their money. Spent their money and what they did on a day-to-day basis and so on. Most of it was focused on how much money you had, because of course, if you're going to live the lifestyle of the rich and famous, you have to be rich, first of all, and usually you have some kind of a high profile. Now, I would expect that there are an awful lot of people out there who have the kind of wealth that they've always dreamed of and aren't famous. They keep a low profile and they just have what they want, and that's the way it is. So today I thought it would be important to focus a little bit on thinking about what kind of style of life you most want or you most cherish, and then to ask the question, am I living that? Is that where I'm going? Now, I tend to view lifestyle now as a more holistic focus. So looking at various parts of our lives and saying, how well am I doing in that? And in a sense, keeping a scorecard to say, well, am I where I want to be in that particular area? I watched an interesting podcast earlier this week with Stefan Neff out of New Zealand, who was interviewing a gentleman who was very versed in Ayurvedic medicine and the Ayurvedic way of life. And he talked about the three pillars that were essential in maintaining health and well-being. And one of the pillars, of course, was focused on what we put into our bodies as far as food and drink, nourishment for our bodies. The second pillar related to sleep, which I think lots of us aren't getting enough of. And the third pillar was related to intimacy. Now, of course, our sexuality was an integral part of that because we are sexual beings, but he broadened it more and talked about intimate relationships. So the definition that I really like of intimacy, if we break the word down, is into me see. So he was talking about, and I like to talk about, a level of intimacy where you can be heartfelt with the people in your lives, that they know you not only when things are going well, but when you're feeling raw and vulnerable. Sometimes in our most disastrous times, when we feel lower than a snake's belly, we need people around us who are able and willing, and we feel comfortable opening up and saying, this is me, warts and all. This is me with my eyes streaming and my nose running, and this is it. And it's so to be able to surround yourself with people for whom you have that kind of regard, that I feel comfortable letting down my guard. I don't need to be the perfect whatever in front of the camera, in front of them, or whatever. My public persona is actually who I am, because I feel able to open up to excuse me, certain people. Do all the people in my life know me on that level? Not so much, but I have a growing circle of people in my life that I've just decided to be that much more open with, that much more real with, that much more vulnerable with. And I have to say, what's so fascinating about that is they in turn open up that much more. So I get a glimpse into more of who they really are deep down in their hearts. So, lifestyle. Sometimes we think that we need to, or that maybe lifestyle just comes to us. And it's just, well, I have this kind of a lifestyle, whether I like it or not. And it's a result of what just is happening around me and where I am. And we forget that we do have choice when it comes to the kind of life or styling our lives in a way that suits us best. And I think it's different at different stages of life. When I was in my 20s, I wanted a very different lifestyle from what I have now. I wanted more excitement, more out and about, more doing, more experiencing, more of more dining out, more fun with friends, all of those kinds of things. And while a lot of that I still like and I still have in my life, I've added some other dimensions to that I revel in as well. So depending on the age and stage that you're going through, let's face it, when we start having children, oh my, our lifestyle is very different. We're busier than ever and our focus shifts. So all of a sudden we're not focused on Friday night with our friends. We're focused on, oh, the week's over and the baby's asleep and I just need to have a nap. And so we change and our lifestyle changes depending on not only what's going on around us and our circumstances, but what has value for us, like what is more important to us. So when our son was small, it was more important to spend time with him and watch him grow and develop. And that was our entertainment a lot of times, was in watching the changes that he went through as he grew, what he learned, and such fun in teaching him different things. So, and I remember at one point in time when our cat inadvertently had kittens because we hadn't been able to get her spayed in time. Well, our whole lifestyle revolved around looking after these kittens for 10 weeks until they were big enough to be adopted out. And I can remember hardly ever turning the TV on because I was so amused by the antics of these kittens as they'd thunder down the hall and run up the cat tree and have this glorious time. And I'm watching them play, wrestle, and tumble with one another. It was just a riot to watch, and I couldn't help but laugh a lot because of watching them as they developed. And so we have these moments in our lives, or periods in our lives, where the style of life that we're living shifts and changes, I think, as it's meant to. I think that's a normal part of what's going on. Where I see people getting trapped, and I know I've been trapped in the same thing, is that the focus for lifestyle becomes very narrow. oh, well, I need a certain amount of money. You know, I need to have all this money in order to buy all the toys that are important to me, all the clothes that I want. I want to be able to go out and spend lots of money dining out or going for drinks with friends or whatever. And there's this consuming need and desire to really move into that space. And so the lifestyle becomes one of frantic acquisition and this absorption in, well, if I just work more hours and make more money and do all of this at the exclusion of the well-being of the body, the well-being of the spirit, because some people are working in jobs that are not satisfying to them. They're not getting a whole lot out of it other than the paycheck. And of course, we all see people who, from a comparison standpoint, are doing financially better than we are. Even if you have $1 million, there's someone else who has 2 million or 10 million or a billion or whatever. So there's always somebody who has more than we do. And if we judge that, if we compare ourselves and feel less than because they have more, then there's a disconnect and a discontentment about our lifestyle. And I'm not sure that helps. I mean, sometimes it helps to motivate us to get off our butts and do more of what we can do. But lots of times it just serves to put us in a place of kind of victimhood. Oh, what's the point? I'll never get anywhere. Life is against me. I'll never get any better, or things will never change, and so on, which of course isn't true, because change is a constant in our lives. And so if you don't like the way things are going right this moment, wait 5 minutes or 2 days or 3 weeks or 5 months or a year, and you'll notice that you're not in the place you were in that you just thought about that you didn't like. Same thing with where you do like to be. Well, wait 5 minutes or any other time frame, and it could change and put you in a place where you go, oh, wow, I wasn't expecting this. This isn't, I don't like this. Well, so it's up to us as individuals to say, okay, what about this don't I like? Is there something I can do to change it? And if there is, well, of course, by all means, we go about and fix whatever isn't working. But if there's nothing we can do, then we do our best to accept it and ride it out and say, all right, well, this too will change. It won't always be like this. But I find it's too easy for people to just fall into that pit of despair and say, oh, I'm never going to have, things are never going to be better. Well, of course, that can be a self-fulfilling prophecy, that if you really believe that at your heart of hearts and you work hard to maintain that belief, well, guess what? Things may not ever get any better because you're convinced that you have no power, that you can do nothing about that. But of course, I maintain that you can do one thing at least. You can change your attitude about that and say, well, this is a lifestyle I have, but I'm not as content with it as I would like to be. I would like more. So you could then shift into, well, it's okay where I'm at, and I want more. Not a but an and, to be inclusive in that and say, well, where I am is where I am. No point denying it. I might as well accept that this is where I am, like it or not. And what do I actually want? What is it that would fill my heart's desire? What is it that I'm yearning for? Are there missing pieces as I go about my day in the way I live my life? Well, I really want to spend more time with my kids, but I'm busy. Oh, okay. Well, take a look at how you're spending your time in that busyness and say, how can I move some of that time over to spending more time with my kids? So the pandemic has certainly caused a lot of people to shift their perspective in what they value and say, you know, I don't really value that 2-hour commute to work when I've been working from home, and I see now how much of my kids' lives I've been missing. So how can I redraw or reorchestrate my life to provide me with the pieces that I've missed out on from here on in? No point hanging out in guilt and regrets and so on. We don't know what we don't know, and we don't see what we don't see until we see it. So then when we see it, it's up to us to say, oh, well, now, what am I going to do about this? Of course, if your life is going along swimmingly, it's going along exactly the way you had hoped and planned, then you choose more of the same and say, all right, let's fine tune and buff it up and add some different things. So I find, for example, nowadays that I revel in my own time with me, in quiet time to meditate, to connect with my creator, to just revel in the joys of the universe way beyond planet Earth and what's out there. And that's important to me. So I take time to do that. I watch probably less TV than I ever did because a lot of what's on there isn't that interesting to me, unless I find a good documentary. Or, okay, I confess, because it's Christmas time right now, I've been a little bit addicted to the Christmas movies and the romantic comedies and so on, because they all have a happy ending. And I like happy endings. And so it sort of soothes my soul and brightens my spirit when I see a happy ending. So it's lifestyle. You get to choose. It's your life. So you get to pick what works best for you. You may need to experiment and say, well, do I want more of this? And you try it and you say, well, maybe that wasn't quite what I wanted. But if you don't like what you thought you wanted, you get to pick again. So do that. And I know that times can feel really rough and really tough in this world that we live in. We're faced with an onslaught of mounting pressures from a whole variety of areas. But you get to choose if you're going to succumb to those or if you're going to rise above that. You get to choose what your attitude is about that and say, well, you know, it might be really dark, but there's that old saying, it's always darkest before the dawn. So regardless of what we're going through in our lives, I think it's great to focus on, am I living the kind of life that serves me the best? Because if I am, then it gives other people, it's almost like giving them permission to live their best lives the way they choose. We might not want to choose what they choose. That's okay. That's them. That's their business. That's what they want to do. And hallelujah, celebrate for them that they found what works for them. The challenge is for you to find what works for you and to style your life in a way that brings you joy, that brings you ecstasy, that brings you peace and contentment. You know you can do this because you're magnificent, right? You're magnificent enough to figure out how to craft that kind of life. So as we wind 2021 down and we start looking forward to 2022, oh my goodness, the years are fleeting by. Let's start focusing on what we want to craft next. How different can your life be moving into the new year? What is it that you most want? What do you cherish? What's important to you? What do you value? And then go after that. If you've been enjoying Tea with Sue, I really invite you to subscribe to my channel, to download my free app, The Magnificence Mentor, where there's all the Tea with Sue that we've done this past year, plus Magnificence Moments and Frivolicious Fridays. There's even some articles on there that might bring you some joy as you read them. Please share if you know people in your lives who would enjoy Tea with Sue. I look forward to meeting up with you next week. In the meantime, take your magnificent self and have an absolutely magnificent weekend. See you next week.